Thank you guys for being here. I am so excited to talk to you about the partnership model. I feel like recently I have gotten a lot more interest and questions about people being interested in learning more about this model, using this model in their own business. And so I wanted to be able to come on here and talk about it today because I do think there are some things that are really good about this model. And I think there are some things that are, tough about it, and people need to know that too. I feel like, hey guys, hey Michelle, hey Jordan. I feel like with anything, it's just important to say that, like, obviously it works for me really well and I'm really happy with it. And I think, like, it just because we made 7 figures this year, it doesn't mean it's like the right model or the perfect model or whatever. Like, there are ups and downs to every single business model. Hey guys, hey Hannah, hey Jessica, hey Elisa, hey Nikki. Thank you guys so much for being here. I know some of y'all submitted questions to me too, so I will get to those specifically as well. Hey Steph. All right, and then also, before I forget, we're giving away a $100 gift card today. I'm going to do that for every live stream for the month of December. I feel like, y'all love our bundles and everything, but for the month of December, I feel like it's just better to give you extra cash, right? So that's what we're going to do. So if you are here and commenting on live streams this month, you will be entered to win gift cards. So all you have to do is make a comment on the live stream. You don't have to say you want the gift card or anything, and we'll hook you up. I was going to do more giveaways like I did last year, and maybe I'll do some of that. But so I think pretty much everyone last year just took the cash anyway. So I'm just taking that as market research, that is what everyone prefers at this time of year, which completely fucking makes sense, right? So that is what we're doing. So if you're here and you want that, comment. I have a ton of questions that I will go through, but of course, if you're live and you have a question, let me know. I can expand on something. I can add that question in, whatever feels good to you. Hey, Julia. Yes, keep it simple. Exactly. Michelle said I won that AirPods last year and already had them, but I used my case. Use my card to buy the cutest case. Perfect. I love it. Yeah, so it worked out great. Most people got the gift card, did what they wanted with it. So anyway, we're gonna do that again. Hey, Emily. Okay, cool. So very quickly, partnership model is what I call partnership model, right? In my own business, is that we do a base rate with our clients and then an additional revenue percentage on top of it, and we do 10%. So obviously, if you're using this model, nobody says you have to do the same base rate as I do. Nobody says you have to do the same percentage as I do. That is just what I have chosen to do in my business and what we have been doing for 3 or 4 years now. Oh, thanks, Deborah. Thank you for being live. Hey, Lindsay, it's so good to see you. Emily says, hi, amazing humans. I know, I feel like I always have the best people, but obviously I'm biased. Hey, Katie, thank you for being here. So that's how we run it at A Lit Up Life. Obviously, our business has grown exponentially since adding this in. And in part, I think, obviously, it's because of the model, and in part, it's because I really believe in it and I like it and it's easy for me to sell and all of that. So keep that in mind as we're going through this today. But baseline, that's what we're talking about here, which is we do a revenue share and a base rate. Hey, Jess, happy Monday. So that's what, there's nothing kind of like more to it than that. The reason I call it the partnership model is because to me, it feels like being a partner in my client's business. So their wins are my wins. If they have a tough month, it's not on their own. And I want them to feel like they truly have a real partner and partnership in their business, because entrepreneurship can feel really lonely. And I think even when we're getting good mentorship or support, sometimes it can feel like we're still in it alone. And so the reason I call what we do the partnership model is obviously not just because we're sharing money, but because I also want them to have that feeling of really having someone in it with them through the ups and downs, wins and losses, all of those kind of things. Thank you, Lindsay. Last week I had one here and Michelle told me to move it. And so now it looks very cute and even. So I like it. I'll take your compliment. But yeah, so that's why we call it a partnership model. Obviously, again, I'm sure there are other people using this in our industry now that are not calling it that. That's totally okay. That's ours. That's our intellectual property. But you can still have a partnership model and call it something different, use a different percentage, use a different base rate. Our percentage is 10%. Our base rate is $12.50 a month. So that is the context. So let me go to the questions y'all had. I am going to just run through these because hopefully they'll give you a ton of the information y'all are looking for. But again, if you have them, let me know. And again, the other thing I want to say too is keep in mind, there are good and bad to everything. It's not just good because we made $1 million. It's good because I love it. Right. Hey, Mandy. Awesome. That's so good, Jordan. Yes, this will totally help you figure out how you want to implement it, what that looks like for you, all that. Hey, Anastasia, it took me 8 minutes to figure out how to find this live. Oh, you made it. Well, thank you for rocking through those 8 minutes for us and persevering. I appreciate it. Awesome. The bow. I will have to bring back the bow for sure. We did it on, well, you were there, Michelle. Duh, that's why you know about the bow. We did it on client happy hour, but I will I will have to bring back the bow for sure. All right, so let's dive in. So first question is, do you have a standard process for the sharing or reporting of new revenue each month with your clients? Yes. So I use Basecamp with all my clients. And basically on the first Tuesday of every month, everyone gets a reminder in their Basecamp that says reminder to report your monthly income. They have that, message pop up on their Basecamp. Within a few days, obviously they report it. I think it varies slightly because sometimes the first Tuesday of the month could be the first and maybe they're still, finishing their books. Sometimes a little bit later, they report it right away, whatever. And from that, we take the percentage and invoice them. So it's really, really, really simple. And it's also nice because in Basecamp, we can look back and see. So it's super cool for me and super cool for my clients. So it's if I went into one of my clients' things and I went to that question or that checkpoint in Basecamp, I could see every report from previous months, or obviously we track it on a spreadsheet. So we make sure we're staying on top of it and invoicing everyone so we can see it on a spreadsheet as well. But it's just really nice because it kind of gives you that traction and trajectory viewpoint. So if you're kind of in that place where you're is my income even going up? My clients can just go scroll there and be oh my God, it totally is, right? So it's just kind of fun. So that's how we do it. We keep it really, really, really simple. In our contracts that everyone signs, it does say that we have the right to audit their books or whatever if we ever want to. We don't ever want to yet. We've never done that, but obviously if there was ever a discrepancy, that protects us. But if there was, to me, I just wouldn't want to work with that client if I wasn't trusting in that. So that has never been a problem that we've had. Hey, Jen. Yes, Mandy, it's new revenue. Yeah. So basically, if someone came to me and they already had, recurring client payments or whatever, it wouldn't be part of that. It's new revenue we generate together. How do I know they're reporting it accurately? Yeah. Just what I just said. Honestly, I really don't ask for supporting documentation. I'm super, super involved with my clients. They're telling me about their business every week. They're sharing wins. They're telling, checking in with Basecamp. They're telling me what's going on with launches. So there's so much transparency there throughout the week and throughout the months that I really just don't worry about it that much. I don't think truly in the 3 to 4 years I've been doing this, I truly do not believe we have ever had anybody intentionally misreport income. Could I be wrong? I guess I could, but I really, really, really don't believe that's true. I've even had clients who have reported income, we've invoiced them on it, and then they've realized that they did something wrong, and they've like literally circled back and been like, oh my God, I owe you like $100 extra. I'm so sorry, I was wrong. And we're like, it's totally fine. So anyway, like, I think it's so much about like, are you getting the right clients and do you have a good relationship with them? And that's really what we built this on. Emily said, do the months line up? Like when you start working together is when you do the profit share. Yeah, it's whatever date we start. We don't try to like say you have to start at the beginning of the month or anything like that. Yeah. Thanks, Deborah. Thanks, Lucy. Yes, if the client is not in integrity, it wouldn't be a good fit anyway. Exactly. Like if I really felt like someone was totally misrepresenting their income, the biggest problem wouldn't be like, how do we get paid? The biggest problem would be like, this is just not a right fit client. So that is always really comforting to me that like, I'm like, is this the right fit client? Do I feel like we have a great relationship and are super in integrity? And then that's totally it. Are you adding yourself as a partner in their business entity? No, definitely not. And we only like the partnership lasts as long as it lasts, right? So it could only be 6 months, right? Like someone could totally, start and finish within 6 months. Most of my clients stay on much longer, but that's totally possible. So it's not like I'm part of their business and definitely they owe me 10%. Like it is just for the time we work together. All right. So next question, how did you initially make the move with your existing clients, or did you only implement it with new clients? Only with new clients. So I still have some clients who are with me who were with me, 5 years ago, that weren't part of partnership and still aren't. And I'm okay with that too. Like the fact that they've chosen to stay with me for 5 years, I think is so beautiful and such a gift. And I love our work and I love our relationships. And so, yeah, like I just see it as like, they kind of hit the jackpot and they've kept going. And so they get that win. Yeah. When you transitioned, what bumps or hurdles came up? Honestly, like really not many. Like I kind of expected people to push back a little bit more in terms of like not really understanding the process. But I think because I had already been talking about it for quite a while before it, because I tested it so much beforehand, that I think people were pretty on board with it by the time it came. I mean, honestly, the biggest bump or hurdle was like my own mindset and just getting on board and like tuning out the noise that said it was a bad idea. It really wasn't so much like in terms of like anything specific related to like clients or strategy. Elisa says, super interested how this idea of the partnership model came to you. It's kind of funny because it's like not a super great story, but it is a great story, if that makes sense. But basically, I was just taking a bubble bath is the short story. I was just taking a bubble bath and thought of it. The long story is I've always been like really interested in like, how do we break down barriers? How do we like look at new ways to deliver services? And in fact, thanks, Sarah. I want to say something before that goes away, but partnership changed my entire life. So thankful for this opportunity almost 5 years ago. Holy cow. Yeah, that's amazing. That was so cool. I love that. And so grateful to you for being part of that. Yeah, I think there's a time and place to bump clients up to the current rate. And I love keeping clients on whatever rate they start from. Totally. So, yeah, I mean, in my previous position in the nonprofit world, that was like one of the biggest pieces of my role. And one of my favorite things to do was like re-engineering service delivery models and figuring out like how we could make that better. And so I think like my brain was just kind of naturally on that. And then I had also decided like I really, really wanted to stick with one-on-one, but I was noticing, in our space, like one-on-one gets so priced out for some people and can be really inaccessible. And so I think that was just like swirling in my mind, like, how would I scale this? How would we re-engineer service delivery models in this space? Like, I think there was just a lot of things, swirling, of course. But really what happened is one night I was taking a bubble bath and I was like, fuck, yes, this is such a good idea. And the thing I'm pretty good about is if I have a good idea, I try to, and I know it's a good idea, like everything in my gut is speaking up, not just like that, oh, this is a good idea, but like full body yes. I will try to run with it as fast as possible so I don't second guess myself. So basically, I think I had that idea in a bubble bath, and I think I had something out for it within like 3 days or something like that, because I was like, I've just felt so sure of it. Yeah. Are most of the clients who sign up for this model newer in entrepreneurship journeys? I'm wondering if CEOs that are already running multiple six-figure businesses would be as receptive. I've had both. I've had clients sign up who are already making multiple six and even seven figures. And I've had quite a big amount of clients sign up that were newer. It really just depends, but I haven't seen it be a barrier either way. I think most people know, like, if they feel really aligned to me and want me for their coach. And I think the business owners that are further along that are signing up for it also really like it, because they're aware that income fluctuates, and they're aware that, like, sometimes they're going to have a big jump with a launch, and sometimes they're going to have a lower month. And I think they really like the idea that this model lives and breathes with them. So it's not like they're just always on the hook for X amount. It's like, it depends on their fluctuations too. And I know a lot of them like really, really like and value that a lot. And so that's why I think they sign up as they're further along too. Did you ever consider capping the share amount? That's a great question. And actually, just maybe a few months ago, maybe even like 2 months ago, I decided to do that and did that. We cap our partnership share amount at $20K per month. So basically at like $200K revenue. The reason I decided to do that was because I really felt like there is a certain transition point that I think would have to occur over that. So a few of my clients were like getting up to and around that part. And I was thinking about, like, what does my role look like at $30K a month? What does my role look like at further than that? And it just felt like really clear to me that, like, I would want my role to shift if it was significantly more than that. And I would want to be even more invested in their business. But ultimately, like, that really wasn't what I wanted. And that really wasn't what they wanted. Like, we love the setup we have. So I made the decision, like I think a couple months ago, to cap at $20K months. And we have done that, and that I think works really well. It doesn't feel stifling to me. Obviously, that's a shit ton of money for someone to be paying. And it also doesn't feel stifling to them. Like, they know that there's like unlimited growth that we can continue to do together without, while knowing there's a cap there. So that's something we have done. Absolutely. But, you almost had to, like, I almost had to get there to realize, like, okay, like, one of the things that's like highest value to me in my business is feeling a good, even energy exchange. And listen, I think coaching is like one of the most valuable things in the world. And for me at that point, I knew I wasn't going to feel like I was engaged in an even energy exchange. And even if maybe I would be getting more of that, right? It still wasn't going to feel good. Like, what feels amazing to me is when it feels like we're in even energy exchange. And so that just felt like the cap that I came to. And like, obviously, that could always change down the road in business. That's not like something I'm writing in stone forever. But for my clients that I have right now, that's where we're at. Lauren says, hey, Lauren, loved your partnership so much, Lacey. Likewise. Do you recharge the base price every 6 months for people who stay on with you past the initial container link? Yep. It is always the same. Like, it's always base percentage. Like, no matter how long you've been with me, everyone's paying base and percentage. Lucy says, I love this model because even though I'm not in it, it feels like you're in my corner with me and we both win as I win, if that makes sense. 100%. That's why I like it too. It feels like, again, that even energy exchange to me, where it feels like I never want a client to feel like they're having a bad month and I couldn't care less or anything like that. Obviously, my job is to stay neutral and not to get really involved or attached in it. But that's really important. Just like I never want them to feel like they're having a great month and I could care less. Again, I can stay neutral to it while still really being invested in caring. And I feel like this just makes it feel like that. Okay. What's the difference in model structure between one-on-one versus your group or mastermind? So everyone that's in my Millionaire Makers Mastermind also pays a base rate. There are one-on-one clients who have just transitioned. So I'm sorry, also pays a base rate and a revenue percentage. So it's same, like that is really just like the same for them. The only thing I don't have a revenue percentage from right now in my business is my value centered sales mastermind. And the reason I've never done that is because it is such a short window that I just don't believe that the revenue percentage makes so much sense there. I mean, we could do it obviously, but it's 3 months, but we have, 7 calls, I think. 6, 7 calls, right? Like it's just such a short thing. So for me, like, I just haven't ever really integrated it there because I feel like the model doesn't necessarily fit the container. And I really like that container and don't necessarily want to change it. And so that is the only place that I don't use the partnership model, but I think it's good to see that because you can see even in my own business, I'm very aware that it works in some ways and doesn't work in other ways, or works for some containers or timeframes and less so for others. And so I think it's just helpful to see that because I think sometimes we can think, well, if something works, it should work everywhere and all the time and that kind of stuff. And for me, like I haven't transitioned value centered sales to that. Oh, good. I'm so glad you love it, Deborah. Wondering how I can do something like this for service providers. Tell me more of what you mean there, but maybe as I answer some more of these, it will become more clear too. Okay, a lot of people say profit sharing, but what you do is revenue share. Can you speak to the difference? Yeah, personally, I never say profit share. I think some people say it as they refer to mine, just as like a off the cuff kind of thing, but I don't do profit share. I do revenue share. So our 10% is off of top line revenue. It's not just off of profit. So someone else could be saying profit share and just do the profit. I'm not sure. I haven't seen that, but yeah, I always say partnership or revenue percentage. Do you get criticism about it from peers or outsiders? For sure. I think to be like totally fucking transparent, less so now, obviously, because I feel like at this point we've kind of like proven it works. You know what I mean? Like we've obviously taken this model to 7 figures and stuff. So I feel like people are less critical of it at this point. But I feel like a lot of people didn't agree with it and had things to say about it at the beginning. And gosh, like from everything to like how 10% was way too little to way too much to how it was like being way too naive about it, to how it was kind of like MLM-y, to like everything, right? But like I think that's just it. Like I was doing something that nobody else was doing in our space. And so of course it's going to get some critique and criticism. And I'm totally okay with that. Like none of that ever hit home enough or felt true enough to really impact me that much. I certainly had to, stay true to myself, keep my blinders on, do all of that. But, again, I think it's easy now looking back to be like, well, it was always working, but like, I certainly had to work through that at the time. I'd love to know if we're coaching done for you service providers, if you think this model could work. Yeah, totally. I have some done for you service clients and we do it exactly the same. What's the difference is revenue total and profit is just profit after expenses. Yeah. Revenue is like top line total you make and profit would be like minus expenses. Exactly, Lucy. Hey, Shantae, I just want to say I truly admire you for sticking to what's true for you and scaling your one-on-one model. So refreshing. So thank you for modeling that. Yes, you're so welcome. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. I think that's the point I want to get across is like, the point is I knew the thing that served me and that I loved the most was one-on-one. And then I got really committed to figuring out a way to do it. And this model happened to work really well for that, but it doesn't mean anything more than I got really committed to what I like to figure out how to scale that. And that's what's important. So whether or not you take anything away from this model, take that piece away that like you get to build your business and scale it in a way that feels good to you. Okay. So what is the next one? What is it like when clients aren't bringing in new revenue for whatever reason? I mean, it's not really like anything. I know this sounds crazy, but I truly don't think about it that much. I'm never thinking in a coaching call, like, ooh, how much money does this mean for me or something like that, unless my client is like, oh, I can't wait to pay you X% this much on that or whatever. Like, that's really fine. But I think all businesses have challenging times or times where they're not making what they want to make or whatever. And I just really see it as part of the process. Like, I think I've said this a lot before, but I plan our expenses and things like that off of my base rate. And so it allows me to stay detached enough where I'm not like, oh my God, like, what is happening here? Anything like that. Like, I think that, my job is to continue to stay as neutral as possible. And I can't let the partnership model change that. I will say that I think people that get into using this model totally, underestimate the mindset work that is required to hold that and to hold a model like this. I think that, like, if you all think about it, like, I can't even really project my income. Like, I've mentioned that before, right? Obviously, we've seen it grow year over year. There's like stability and consistency and all of that. But like, it really is totally based on someone. Like, if one of my clients took 3 months off this year, like, that's obviously going to impact something like that's not bad, but it's just the reality of it. And so I think that, like, the point I want to make there is, like, if you're going to do this model, you have to be really, 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 really clear that your work is to not get so attached and to 100% do that mindset work, to not make it about this client has to make more or whatever, but to, like, be really present for their journey. Which leads me to the next question, which is, do you ever fire clients who aren't meeting their targets? Literally never. I would never fucking do that ever. Because to me, that takes away the entire premise of the partnership model, right? Oh shoot, I don't want to miss some of y'all's questions. I'm going to come back to them in 2 seconds. It takes away the entire purpose of the partnership model. What that would be like the successful client model or something like that. Like, I'm only working with a client if they're hitting X or whatever. And that's not what I'm trying to build. Like, so I would never fire a client for not making a certain amount, nor would that ever occur to me, because that's not what we're doing here. Like, this isn't about, I mean, in a sense, it's about how do we make a lot of money? Of course, I want them to make money, right? But the idea that, like, they don't deserve my time if they're struggling with that is just not something I would ever buy into. Hey, Tristan, 100% confirmed regarding being neutral. As a smaller fish, so to speak, even in the months I felt like comparing myself to clients who were rocking their sales numbers, I never felt anything but grace, support, and encouragement coming from Lacey. There was zero pressure always. Thank you for sharing that, Tristan. Stephanie says, is there a revenue sweet spot for clients that you serve that makes this model worth it? Example, if you work with a client that has low revenue in general, does it make sense for both you and the client? I don't think there's a sweet spot. I mean, the thing I like about the partnership model is I feel like you're winning at every level. If you're not making a lot of money, then you're not on the hook for a lot of money either, right? Like, in terms of my base rate, I feel like I have, like, pretty much like the lowest base rate for one-on-one. Gosh, even like compared to like new coaches in our industry, right? And so if you're not making a lot yet, that's a super huge win, because you're not paying, 3 times that to work with me. If you are making a lot, like, it's easy to pay that because you're making it. So I don't think there's one way that's better or the other. I think, like, the beauty of it is that it really supports you at all points of growth in your business. Curiosity questions. I'm curious if you give bonuses to team based off revenue bumps, or if it's completely separate or based off other things. I know you base expenses off of base rate, so I wondered if there was some correlation. I mean, as our income goes up, I definitely bonus team more based on that, but I wouldn't say that I do it off of the revenue or off of like a percentage of a percentage, if that makes sense. But, like, yeah, certainly though, like, certainly Megan's going to get a bigger bonus this year than last year or whatever, you know what I mean? But that's just because our revenue as a company has gone up. What do you do when clients in this model don't do the work in between and don't see their revenue build? Do you decide they're not a good fit and part ways? Are you happy with the base rate until you can help them figure out? Yeah, I mean, listen, I do what I would do with any client that wasn't doing the work or wasn't seeing the revenue grow. look at that. What's going on here? Talk about that. Like, that's what our coaching is about, really, is like, for everyone struggles to do the work at some point. Everyone struggles to see the growth at some point. So I just kind of see that as my job. I don't see it as like a, you're not pulling your weight kind of thing, because the truth is us humans are so much more complicated than that. Most people aren't just like, fuck you, I'm not trying to do anything to just be an asshole, right? It's like usually something else is making us not show up. And so my job is to help them uncover that. And if that takes 1 session or 20 sessions or whatever, like that's what I'm here for. Okay, in order for this to really work, would you say a coach needs to be super high touch, like available daily and weekly in order to catch, shift, and redirect? I mean, personally, I think if we're going to call it partnership, a level of partnering is really valuable. I don't think that it doesn't mean you couldn't use a revenue share if you wanted to, without having to have like, you know, a ton of touch points. I think you can kind of build that however you want to build it. I don't think touch points are the most important part there, but I think in terms of revenue share, but in terms of like how I structure it with partnership model, yeah, I do think it's really important for me to be available and really invested in their businesses. Again, I don't think it's required for anyone using a revenue share, but in this case and in the way that I frame this and I work, it is definitely a huge, huge part of the business. Have you ever played with or considered other revenue percentages? Well, when I was first testing this out, for a little while, I think I tested 15% and 20% without a base rate. And I think, you know, there were some good things about that too. The base rate's really been important for me and my business, though, in terms of 2 things. One, it is staying neutral, like we talked about. I think that's super important. 2, it's really like buying us time for things to take off, right? Because sometimes it does take time. So, you know, I still want that even energy exchange for my time coaching, but like I also want to be able to give clients runway. So that's really important. And then also like I have, you know, a team to make sure I am able to pay for every single month. So base rate really helps that. So I've definitely tried higher percentages. And a lot of the times that worked out really well, to be honest, but like just the mental game of it, the base rate is a lot better for me personally. And I think it's better for clients too, because ultimately like that 10% is a really sustainable number, where if it was like 20% for a long time, I think that that could get tougher, but that base rate plus 10, I think just happens to be like a sweet spot that I really like. Okay. Who should not try this model? Who is it not for? Honestly, I really feel like it sounds kind of funny to say, but I think you have to have a rock solid level of self-trust to do this model. I think if you are really feeling wobbly and shaky in your business or your skill set right now, it is going to be a really tough model, because it is so easy already as a coach to get completely over invested in your clients' results and to make it mean so fucking much about yourself. And then when you're getting completely paid off of that, it is 10 times easier to go down that rabbit hole. And so I feel like it's just a little bit of a caution. Like, I think that, you know, it's easy to be like, oh, this seems cool, let me try it. But again, that ability to stay neutral, to be okay with not being able to significantly project out your income, to not ever coach a client to do something that's best for you or your financial timeline, that's always best for them. Like, there are so many nuances there that have to be in place, that you really have to already be in a pretty rock solid place of self-trust and self-belief to be able to show up fully for it. And so I think if you're not there, that's totally okay. Like, we've all had to grow into that. It's not like I did this from day one. But I think like, don't necessarily pick it just to pick it if you don't feel like so ready for all that comes with it. And then also if you don't feel super bought into it, like I said this earlier, but like I just felt so fucking bought into like one-on-one and partnership. And like, I truly believe there is nothing more effective in building your business. And like, that's also why it works. So if you just think it's a fast ticket to more money and not like the fucking thing, don't do it either. Because again, there's so many other things that you have to deal with and manage and overcome that you have to believe in it so hard, you know? Okay, looking back, Patricia said, looking back, would you still price at $12.50 as a base rate or would you increase it? It's funny that you asked that, Patricia, because one of my clients who is just an absolute gem, I love her to death, sat me down recently and was like, I would like to give you some feedback if you're available for it. And I was like, okay, sure. And she basically like gave me a really hard time about the $12.50 and how it was too low. And it cracked me up and I so appreciated it. So, but the truth is, and this is what I told her too, I probably would still price at $12.50 to be perfectly honest, because I make the majority of my money from the percentage anyway. And so I really, really like having that lower base rate because it feels accessible to people. And I also like it because when you're making a lot, it almost feels like the base rate like that you're paying me is nothing. And I think that that's like kind of a beautiful thing. And I still feel really good and nourished by that rate, to be perfectly honest. So do I believe I could increase it 100%? Will I ever? Probably. Would I change it going back? Definitely not. Do you mind me asking how many one-on-one clients you have on average and how you've been able to scale to 7 figures? Sure. I would say probably like a little over 20 on average. I've had more, give or take. I talked a lot about in 2020, end of 2020, I guess, right? What is this year? No, early 2020, it doesn't matter. I booked myself out a little too far, too high. So we were up to like probably over 25 or more at that point, and that was a lot. But yeah, over 20, probably in that sweet spot in there. And yeah, that's what's helped us scale. But the thing I want to say there is like, a lot of people are like, oh my God, like that's so many, but like, that's all I'm doing, you guys. So if you think about that, and then the fact that I do 3 sessions per month per client, like I'm only on maybe 20 hours of calls a week, if not less. So for me, like I'm not doing anything else in my business. I'm not like building out a program or whatever. So it works for me. And it's the thing I like to do the most. Lucy says, my 2 cents and would love to, oh shoot, Lucy, it just went away. Do you think you could copy paste that? Can you go into oh shoot, I'm losing them, you guys. Do I find it overwhelming to take many one-on-one calls in a week? Not at all. It's like my favorite part of my week. But again, that's why I like pick the thing that you like the best. Like always, you know, like the thing I like the best is that. It's always the most exciting thing for me by far. Oh, Lucy, okay, my 2 cents, and I would love to hear if people have other thoughts, but I also think this model mostly makes sense for business related work. For example, I'm a relationship coach and I don't think it would make sense. Yeah, Lucy, I think like the way that it would maybe work for something that's not super business related is that maybe there's like tiered percentages based on like if they achieved a result or something. You know, like maybe there's like an X bonus if they're in a relationship or something like that. But yeah, I totally agree. It's mostly business related that it makes sense for. I have the same question as Deborah. I think I missed Deborah's question. So sorry. I think those went really, really fast. Oh, Jess, you just repasted one. Okay. How closely do you maintain a mix of clients who are at different stages and revenue sizes? We have all different stages, which I really, really like. Obviously, now we have less new people just because I haven't taken on clients in a while. So that's a challenge point. But yeah, that has always been a big part of my business. Like I love working with people at all different levels. It's not like I try to be like, oh, I just want a new person or I just want a further along person. I don't really think about it like that. Like I don't try to like calculate that out really specifically, but I really do like that blend. What are the different challenges you have in holding revenue share clients versus non-revenue share clients? You mentioned there are different challenges with each. I don't know if I meant that there were different, personally, I don't know if there are different challenges with each now. To me, they feel exactly the same. I think for other people, like the challenge would be like one of them is making up the your income. So if they're struggling, it would be really easy to get like overly invested in that. So I think that's the difference, but personally, I don't experience one. How do you make this model work if you take 2 months off? I am going to do a whole thing on maternity leave for that, Patricia. So I will probably save some of that for them. But like the quick and dirty version of that answer is, I don't like, I'm not, for the time I'm taking off, I'm like not asking my clients to pay me or pay a percentage. So yeah, I will happily share more about that and how I've planned for that and work that out and all of that. But yeah, that's what we're doing. Like my clients just aren't paying me when I'm off for maternity leave. Okay, cool. Does your application include value-based questions? Like since you're intimately partnering with them, you got to agree with their politics and bigger mission, right? I think value alignment is really important. I don't know that I have to agree with every single thing that they stand for and vice versa. I think, you know, we're always going to have differences there. Like even in the idea of like me believing one-on-one is the best thing ever. A lot of my clients don't, like they really believe like a group program is the best thing ever for their people, or just as an example. So like there are always ways we're going to have differences and different thought process and whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's just more like, yeah, like, do we value integrity? Do we click? And I think it's really, really easy for me to tell that on a sales call for the most part. I also trust that if someone really didn't click, I would be happy to part ways. And I think I'm really, really good at very, very clearly articulating what my values are super consistently in my business. So I just rarely find it to be an issue that someone's trying to hire me that doesn't align to that, because I'm so clear about it that I just really don't find that anyone's like banging down my door that's, you know, like totally not aligned with me. So that just really hasn't been a problem, but I think it's just kind of like naturally part of everything that we do. Why do successful clients choose to stay with you even though it means they pay super high amounts? I mean, I think there are a lot of reasons. I feel like the thing that's true about a lot of my clients is that they started with me at like 0 to 5K or something like that, right? So it's like if you've helped someone take their business from like 0 or 5K months to 7 figures or even multiple 6 figures, whatever. I think they just really see the value in that. I don't think it feels to them like a super high amount. I think it feels to them like an even exchange. Like obviously conceptually they know it's a super high amount, but I think it feels like a good exchange there because we have been together like that whole way. And so a lot of my clients are like, almost will say like, they're so happy to be at a point where they get to do that. I think another reason they stay is because we are so like partnered and intimately familiar. Like I know so much about their business, like everything about their business, really, right? It's like, I can tell you like the first challenge they ran when we started together and how well it converted and what happened, 3 years ago at this time and what, like all of those like small nuances that make such a difference in having someone in your corner that knows all of that, has seen all of that, has been with you through all of that, who knows all of your shit and all of your challenges and all of your mindset blocks. And so I feel like for them to like start that over with someone else, like it just would never feel the same, or they feel like they would have to do like so much work in getting someone else invested or in understanding of what the challenges are. And then I think the last part is that once you've done that and once you've like gotten to that point in your business, I think you so deeply realize that most of it wasn't like that you found one perfect strategy, and most of it was like how you got out of your own way over and over again. And so I think that's where they see the value too, is like, I know all the ways they get in their own way, and I'm like really, really committed to helping them get past that. So I don't think they're looking for like, ooh, what's the next shiny object? I think they're like, I know this is what works and I'm going to keep doubling down on this. So I think there are a lot of reasons, but I feel like those are some of the top ones. And, the truth is once you're at a certain point in business, most programs that you're going to invest in are going to be really expensive anyway. So I think there's like a reality there too. Like, I think it seems like so much, but comparably, are you hiring another one-on-one coach for like $200K a year or something like that? It's kind of going to even out. So that's a whole other thing too. But again, I think they also really like that, like the partnership moves with them. So like, yes, if they're making a lot more, but if they have a down month, that supports them too. Like, I think that that's just like a really nice comfort. And I think we've just built a beautiful relationship over the years. Obviously, no one has to stay. I tell my clients all the time, like, I don't want you to stay because you need me. I want you to stay because you feel like it's a beautiful support to you. And, I think they know that they can go anytime, but I think that they, choose to stay because of the relationship we built and the work we've done together. And so I think that's really beautiful. And it's like one of the things that I love and value most in my business. And like the fact that I have clients that have been with me for 5 years, 6 years, 3 years, 4 years, 2 years, like that means more to me than just about anything else in my business, just having those long-term relationships. And I just feel really, really happy about that. And I love that this model gets to work with that, Do you still work with newbie business owners or only those who have already proven they can sell? I definitely still love to work with newer people. There's nothing like anyone has to prove to me before they work with me. When I took a spot on earlier this year, it was someone who was less than a year into business. I really enjoy working with newer people too. That's not a thing for me and not something I feel like anyone has to prove. So I'm open to both is what I would say. But there's no, when I had opened applications and done some sales calls when the spot opened, like I didn't pick the person making the most. Let's just say that I picked the person who I felt like I could help the most and who I had a great connection with. And so, it wasn't about like, what have they proven or anything like that. They just all love me. That's why they say thank you, Steph. Lucy says, kind of like a relationship. I don't want him to stay because he needs me. I want him to stay because he desires me. Exactly. And it's nice and supportive. Totally. I love long-term work. You get to know clients so deeply. Exactly. I think that that's the beauty of that depth of knowledge you have and that, connection you have to someone's business and their, they're like knowing them intimately. Like, I just think so cool. There's nothing better. Okay. Have a couple more here. Do you still feel in line with your intentions when starting, or has it shifted over time? What has changed from year one of doing it to now? Yeah, I feel like really not a lot, to be perfectly honest. I think the one thing that I would say has changed is I didn't necessarily, like, I knew I wanted long-term clients, but I didn't necessarily like set out at year one for that to be the case. But now I can see how that's like one of the greatest gifts of my business. So I think that part has evolved, but I mean, really the same, like my intention was kind of always to build it in a way that felt really good for me, to be able to do one-on-one, to be able to have these like deep, intimate relationships with my clients, to be able to really feel like a partner in their business, to make the entry barrier low, all of those kind of things. Obviously, I would say maybe that's changed because unfortunately our entry barrier is kind of high at this point in terms of we have a long wait list and that kind of stuff. That sometimes grinds my gears a little bit. I think as much as I'm saying like the best part of my business is these long-term relationships, the hardest part of my business is not being able to take on more clients and feeling like there's a cap there and like I disappoint people and things like that. That's by far the hardest part of my business. So that part gets to me a little bit sometimes, but ultimately I don't think much of the intention has changed. And I just feel really lucky that it's played out this long. And quite honestly, that I've stayed in it this long. There was many years where it didn't look like, a partnership model was going to get us to 7 figures. And I was okay with that because I loved it so much, but here we are. And it's like really cool to see that the sky is kind of the limit in terms of how we can keep growing. What's the number one thing you would recommend to a coach considering this model, or what do you wish you had known when you started? I think I kind of already said this a little bit, but it really is like, know how much of a like mind game you will have to play if you pick this model, in terms of like, you know, again, like your income projections, your ability to stay neutral, your ability to not make it mean anything, your ability to help clients not make it mean anything, all of that kind of stuff. Like, I think obviously in any business model we have, it's all a mindset game, and this doesn't opt you out of that is kind of how I would say it. So just going into this knowing that all of that's there and all of that's going to be a thing, I think is really helpful, because it feels like you're choosing it and you're willing to run at it and deal with it and manage it, as opposed to almost being surprised with it later. I think that's really important. I don't do business coaching, but I so admire the grace and passion you put into your work. So inspiring. Thank you, Julia. Stephanie says, no, knowing that you can't project the revenue model, do you forecast based on the base charge for your one-on-ones? Yes, we do. We plan and forecast based on base rate for sure. And obviously, like, you know, we can make some guesses. Like, I have an average of what I did the last year and stuff like that, but it's just not like if I'm looking at like, what is my like, you know, payment processor, say my income's going to be next month, it says like 28K or something like that. It doesn't say, you know, that it doesn't show like the additional whatever 70K we're going to bring in from that or something. So like, that's the difference. How do you handle the legal side of it? Did you have a lawyer? Did you hire a lawyer to set up your contract? Yeah, we have it in our contract, right? That, you know, we take the revenue share, that we can audit their books, all of that kind of stuff. And that's really clear in our contract, and had an attorney write that out for us. So yep, that's true. There's really not been another legal side to it per se. Like I said, we've never like pursued a client or anything, but yes, I would definitely say, if you're going to do this, make sure your contract is very, very clear about what someone is getting into. How did you come to decide on your base rate? Honestly, Patricia, that was just my base rate at the time, or I mean, my rate at the time. Like, when I transitioned to this model, I was just charging $12.50 a month for coaching, and I just put the percentage on top of it. Like, at that point, I was debating on raising my rates. Like, should I charge more than $12.50 a month? And I was either going to raise my fee, or I was going to add the percentage. And so it was just what I was charging at the time, and I decided to add the percentage. So it wasn't like this like super intentional decision in a sense. It was just like, that was what it was at the time. And I've just never raised it, because our revenue share has gone up so considerably each year that that's just never felt like a big deal or a thing. It's not like I don't think people will pay it. I think it would be negligible if I was charging $1,500 a month or whatever, but it just hasn't really been like a big consideration. I am a big believer in like, do a thing and leave other things in your back pocket. So I'm like, that's in my back pocket. Like, I always know it's there. I always know if I want to raise it, I can. I always know if I want to like see a bump in that, I can. Like, maybe when I have a baby, if I take on less clients, I will. We'll see. But yeah, that's kind of where I am with that. Okay, so I just finished all the questions. That was like perfect timing, because I have a call at 2. But I hope this was helpful. Always happy to do more and talk about it more, because I know so many people have questions about this and are thinking about doing it. So let me know that. But also, one of my clients asked me to do a podcast with her to talk about this, so she can interview me on this a little bit more. So if you have questions that didn't get answered today that you would love for us to tackle on the podcast, let me know, because we can definitely do that as well and make sure those get answered there. It's Julia Wells, my client, who I have done so many behind the scenes with for her. If you haven't listened to those, go to her podcast. They're amazing. So she asked to do one with me. And I think it is such a smart idea. And so we're going to have fun with that. So if you have other questions that you know you want Julia to ask me, let me know. I will forward those along to her. We will definitely have that conversation. And remember, if you comment, you are entered to win a $100 gift card this month. So I will make sure to pick that giveaway tomorrow. And I hope you guys have a beautiful week. And thank you so much for being interested in and invested in and caring about this model. Obviously, it is like my baby and I'm so in love with it. And so seeing all of you be excited about it really has meant the world to me today. So thank you guys so much. And I hope you have a good week. Bye, y'all.